So here we are. It's day two, and it's late again. Um, no surprise there. But Case is asleep in the next room, so that's why I talk so soft. But we had a good day. He got to wake up late, which he loves. So he seems to only sleep in here. If I could get him to sleep in at home. um, So we got up and he got to get a lot of energy out because that's great before we've got to go do a bunch of appointments. So he's running around the hotel room and that's always a good thing. So we go and we have pulmonology, which took a while, and the doctor was very patient and very fun. I've always said these boys could live with a cheerleader by their side because they love people um, uh, that are fun and happy and buy into their world. And she did just that. So he actually really enjoyed that appointment. And what was interesting was that when we were finishing up, we were talking a lot about the physical improvements that Case has had over the last 4 years. And she said, I have to be honest with you. When I came in the room, I thought he was a sibling, and the boy with Hunter syndrome was in the bathroom or something. So that's amazing to hear that a doctor who has seen this and seen boys also sees such changes. So that took a while, and then that ran over. So we were late to our next appointment, which was audiology, and Case's whole goal in audiology was to get to see the Mickey Mouse. So they keep a Mickey Mouse in the control booth. And so a lot of times he was getting up and opening the door so he could try to go find Mickey. But he ended up doing the testing, and they did a new test this time where he has to hit the button when he hears the sound. So that was kind of a step up from what he'd been doing before, which really worked out. And so it was good, and it was good to avoid a meltdown because a meltdown in a small audiology booth is not a good thing. So whatever we can do to avoid that, I'll do. So then we were late to our next appointment, which was a genetics clinic for vitals and neuro check and physical and all that stuff. So that's Dr. Munzer and his team. And we got there, and Case always loves that because he loves the nurses there, he loves the staff and Dr. Munzer, and so it's always fun to see him actually enjoy appointments because he can have enjoyment, and then we've got to say no, we need you to come do this, and remind and say it over and over, and um, but then to be able to split that up with things that he likes and people that he likes is really good. So we also met a fairly newly diagnosed family that was there at the same time, and they came down a few months after diagnosis, very similar to what we did. Case was diagnosed in April, and we were here in July to sit down with Dr. Munzer and just get the word from somebody who's seen a lot of these boys, and from somebody who's was at the time getting ready to run the trial. And I think it's such a hard appointment because you can read all you want to read about the disease, and you can see pictures and talk to people, but when you come face to face with some of the hard truths of the disease from someone who knows it really well, it's just not an easy day. And seeing someone else be there at that day, brings you back to that day like it was yesterday. And I can remember it, and it made me think of the visit we came down after that, which was our first screening visit for the trial, and in particular, the realization that Case was cognitively affected. And I think you know it, but you don't know it. And you want to believe that, the little delays don't necessarily mean that they're going to regress. And while case was too high for the trial at that first visit, I realized, just being in the hotel room that he was clearly cognitively affected. And I can remember sitting on the bed in that side of the hotel room. And some people say it's like being diagnosed over again when you realize the implications. Because I think at first it's just so hard to take in. There's so much, and you really can't. It takes a long time, I think, to really take in what it means for your child, for your other children, for your family, for your life, for the rest of your life. And not only is it hard to take in, it's hard to accept and come to a place where, do you fight against it? Do you accept it? Do you work with it? And so that was really a hard visit when, you kind of feel like you're getting it all over again. But it's just strange to see all that can happen in 5 years, because if you had told me then, okay, 5 years from now, this is where things would be, it's so hard to believe. And I think the struggle is that it's all taken so long, that here 5 years later, or 4 years after the beginning, we're still sitting here and trying to help our kids the best way we can. But that's for another day, I think. So after our visit, we came back to the hotel, and Case got together again with his buddy Hunter and his new buddy Danny, and they had a blast. And I could sit and watch and play with boys with Hunter syndrome all day. They are so stinking fun. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's so hard. The disease is so horrible when you sit and think about it in the reality of it. But when you sit with these kids, they are just some of the most purely loving and just pure emotions. And you've got to appreciate that about it. I mean, they truly teach you just unconditional love. No veneer of fakeness or anything. They think it, they do it, and they laugh and they scream and they play and hug. And I mean, there's a lot of things in them that we should all be like. And that's just one of the things I love about them. So it was good to sit around. It's always good to sit around and just watch the boys and play with them and talk with other families. And it's been one of the best things about this whole trial experience is being able to see other families a lot. Because, I said, Case never had friends before the trial. These boys, they get each other on a whole different level. And to see them be real friends and to include each other and, do things together, even if it's just in the context of the hotel room, is it's just a fascinating thing to watch. It's a heartwarming thing to watch. I think half the time, whenever we get together, the parents spend taking pictures of the kids, because it's just a really wonderful thing. And it'll never get old. It'll never get old to me to see them. So It's late, and tomorrow we have cognitive testing, which was always the most, to me, the most important appointment, or one of the most important, because I want, I want Case to show, what he can do. I want it to be accurate, and because I know, and I see it every day, what he's able to do and what he's learning, and I want it to show up. Um, so so that's tomorrow, and that's the first one, and then two more, and so I should probably get to bed, but I'm sure, just given my habit, that I probably won't. But if anybody has watched this long, thanks. And I think sometimes, um, this is partly for me. I feel like this has been such a long journey that I want to have some record of being able to go look back. And I think I want my kids to have some record. It's been so hard on them the last 5 years. And they don't really remember anything before he was diagnosed, or really anything before the trial. Um, so I think we all have that in our unaffected kids, the worry that this will permanently scar them. But, generally it makes them more compassionate and wonderful people. But I would love for them to be able to look back and see, a record of, um, what we do here, and why, and why it's important. So I hope this is that anyway.